Hello everybody, Shocking Sean here. We're going to be reviewing Child, but before that, I just wanted to announce I'm doing a giveaway event for a Blessing of the Welkin Moon. It's a $5 item, gives you 90 Primo Gems a day for 30 days, and 300 Genesis Crystals up front. In order to compete and be eligible for this prize, you just need to subscribe to my channel and comment on this video, like it too, and I'll pick 3 commenters once I hit 100 subscribers. Those 3 commenters will be able to compete in my maze here, and the one who completes it first with the best time gets to have the prize. Okay, so let's get into Child now. So I'm going to be going over his tile or his talents. We're just going to pretend that he's at C0. So let's go over his normal attack first. And hold on, I just want to switch to the Raiden Shogun because I know Child likes to talk while I'm in the talent menu. Alright. So his normal attacks are a range stance, and he performs up to 6 consecutive shots with a bow. Nothing special about that. Charged attack, he charges up his bow and does like a Hydro Shot. If you hit an opponent with this, they become marked with the Riptide status. And the Riptide status is a mark. Let's read it specifically here. Opponents affected by Riptide will suffer from AoE Hydro damage effects when attacked by Tartaglia in various ways. Damage dealt in this way is considered normal attack damage. Riptide Flash, a fully charged aim shot that hits an opponent affected by Riptide, deals consecutive bouts of AoE damage, can occur once every 0.7 seconds. Riptide Burst. Defeating an opponent affected by Riptide creates a Hydro Burst that
I wonder
inflicts.
what the rest of the Harbingers are up to.
Dang it.
Plotting and
There we go. Sorry about that. Where was I? Ah, yes. Riptide Burst. Defeating an opponent affected by a Riptide creates a Hydro Burst that inflicts the Riptide status on nearby opponent's hit. Plunging Attack. So his plunging attack, I'm just going to show you to you. It's when you jump off like a height, and then you just do the come in, and you just do the attack button. That's a plunging attack. Everybody has one. Nothing too special about that. Let's move on. Oh, I should note, by the way, when he's in his melee stance,
tidal wave.
he can't do plunging attacks in his melee stance. Speaking of his melee stance, let's read about it right now. So his melee stance is called Foul Legacy Raging Tide. Unleashes a set of weaponry made of pure water, dealing Hydro damage to surrounding opponents and entering melee stance. So when he initially switches, he'll do AoE Hydro damage. In this stance, Tartaglia's normal and charged attacks are converted to Hydro damage that cannot be overridden by any other elemental infusion and change as follows. Normal attack. Perform up to 6 consecutive Hydro strikes. Charged attack. Consumes a certain amount of stamina to unleash a cross slash dealing Hydro damage.
You know, there are better ways to seek out our enemies than,
And that
well,
kind of looks like
standing
this.
here.
Basic attacks, then the heavy attack.
Bring it on.
Switch back. Oh wait, let me switch to Raiden so that way he doesn't just talk in the background again. Okay. And then Riptide Slash. This part's important to note because it's considered elemental skill damage. Hitting an opponent affected by a Riptide with a melee attack unleashes a Riptide Slash that deals AoE Hydro damage. So what that means is when you hit a marked enemy, that's what Riptide is. It unleashes Riptide Slash, and basically they're AoE bombs. So damage dealt in this way is considered elemental skill damage and can only occur every 1.5 seconds. After 30 seconds, or when the ability is unleashed again, this skill will end. Tartaglia will return to his range stance, and this ability will enter cooldown. The longer Tartaglia stays in his melee stance, the longer the cooldown. If the return to a rage stance occurs automatically after 30 seconds, the cooldown is even longer. And in here you can see the max duration is 30 seconds, and the preemptive cooldown, which means if you manually switch back, can be anywhere from 6 to 36 seconds long. The max cooldown, if you just let it go by itself, is 45 seconds. Okay, and there'll be like a little red thing that flashes above your head towards the end of your stance. Like you see that blue bow that comes up? It'll be a symbol just like that, except it's flashing red. That'll tell you that you're nearing the end of your 30 seconds, and you should like preemptively switch back, or else you'll get like a penalty of a very long cooldown, and you don't want that. Okay, now onto his burst, called Havoc Obliteration. Now this burst actually has two different ways of activating. One's in his range stance and one is in his melee stance. So in a way, he has two different bursts. Okay, so swiftly fires a hydro-imbued magic arrow, dealing AoE hydro damage and applying the Riptide status. Returns a portion of its energy cost after use, and that is his range stance Flash of Havoc burst. So you'll refund some energy and mark enemies, which is nice, which makes this an excellent opening for him. So if you want to just mark enemies right away and then just immediately switch into your melee stance, that's a viable thing to do. Next is his melee stance, Light of Obliteration.
From. If we didn't keep moving, we'd freeze to death.
Darn it. Sorry about that. Back to his burst. Melee stance, Light of Obliteration. Performs a slash with a large area of effect, dealing massive hydro damage to all surrounding opponents, which triggers Riptide Blast. Riptide Blast. When the obliterating waters hit an opponent affected by Riptide, it clears the Riptide status and triggers a Hydro Explosion that deals AoE Hydro damage. Damage dealt in this way is considered elemental burst damage. So it removes the mark they have, but it deals like an extra explosion to them when they're hit with the mark. So you want to try to make sure the enemies that you're hitting with this are marked. Alright. And then the energy cost of this is 60. The cooldown of it is 15 seconds. And the melee damage is 986%. The ranged damage is 804%. And the Riptide Blast, where it clears the Riptide status from the melee stances burst, is 255% damage. Yeah, so that's his burst. Let's move on to his passive, shall we? So the first passive is called Never Ending, extends Riptide duration by 8 seconds. Riptide is that status, of course, the mark you apply to enemies, so that'll last longer. Next is called Sword of Torrents, when Tartaglia is in Foul Legacy's Raging Tide's melee stance. On dealing a crit hit, normal and charge attacks apply the Riptide status effect to opponents. So when you hit enemies in your melee stance with normal and charge attacks, then you have a chance of marking them when you land a crit hit. Master of Weaponry increases your own party member's normal attack level by 1. And so everybody in your party will have 1 more level on their normal attacks. So right now I actually have Child at level 9, but it says level 10 because of that passive, and everybody else in my party is the same exact thing. They're actually 1 level beneath what it says they are, because he's marking all of them up by 1 level. Okay, and that's going to be it for Child. Are you going to be pulling for Child? You know, comment below, like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe, and we'll be doing that contest I mentioned sometime in the future. So I hope to hear from you guys about that soon, and I'll reach out to the people I select in the comments below. Catch you all next time. Shocking Sean out.